here is George McPhee, a longtime general manager of the Washington Capitals, but cut his teeth under Pat Quinn with the Vancouver Canucks. George, when you think of Pat, what jumps out into your mind first and foremost?
Really a father figure, I think, that's the kind of impact I think that he has had on a lot of people's lives as players, the staff that he had with him different times, and I really think that's how you measure a man, is the impact he has on people's lives. And Pat sure had a great impact on a lot of people's lives. And he was, when he called it, for me, it felt like it was your father calling.
George, in your day-to-day workings as a manager, were those times when you started to say something and said, "I sound exactly like Pat"? Was that the type of thing you're talking about?
I would hope so. I would hope I learned a lot from him that way. But what I admired about Pat was his humility and how he always had time for people, and how he treated people so well. And again, that's, when you measure a man, you measure his heart, you measure his kindness, you measure did he serve people, did he help people, and he came off, he had enormous presence. He was a big man. He had an intimidating look to him. But when you got to know him, he was one of the kindest human beings that you'd ever want to meet.
George, obviously, Brian Burke, he had a relationship with, and he had the job first in Vancouver. And I'm curious, how did it work out that you became Pat's second right-hand guy after Brian Burke?
I was actually at a Hobie Baker banquet in Minnesota, and I ran into Berkey there, and he introduced himself. I was just finished my first year of law school, and Berkey came over and said hi and said, I really admire that you're going to law school after playing hockey, and people that played the game should stay in the game, and I'd like to help you out. And so he invited me to come up and intern with the Canucks that summer, and I did. And then a couple of years later, Berkey was taking the Hartford president and GM's job, and recommended that to Pat that I be interviewed, and I was just graduating from law school. And that's how it happened. I went up and interviewed, and couldn't have been more nervous when I first saw Pat walk in the room. You feel the full impact of his presence, but it worked out, and I've told a number of people that of all the blessings I've had in hockey, all the good things, he was number one, to be able to work with that man.
Some people may have forgotten, but when you took your Washington Capitals to the Stanley Cup Final in 1998, you usually sit alone in your box. But during the playoff run that year, you didn't sit alone, did you?
No, I was really proud to ask Pat to come and Sandra to come down, and they were there in the finals, and it was, I was just trying to pay him back somehow, and actually it helped, I think, because his profile was out there again, and then Toronto ended up hiring him, and it was a real good move for Pat and for the Toronto organization.
What skill did you admire the most about Pat Quinn, whether it be coach or a manager or a player?
Well, Pat was a really bright guy, deep thinker, very well read, and I've told a number of people, you can talk to him about politics, about the law, about history, geography, religion, and they were really, the conversations were really engaging and stimulating, and I think what I admired most is his ability to sit and listen to people. And when you walked in, he'd put things down, he'd look you in the eye, and he'd listen. And but he did it with everyone. There was never a contrived thing with Pat. He always had time for people coming in off the street. I'll never forget being at the P&E out there the casual fan, the season ticket holder, the big sponsor. It didn't matter. Pat would have time for them. They'd come off the street. We weren't getting any work done, but he was making someone feel better.
His passion still always coaching. Like, he was an excellent general manager, but it just seemed like, unlike most GMs, he had that real ability and knack, and was a great coach as well.
He was an outstanding coach, and I think he's one of the best our game has seen. I don't think people realize it. You know, he got the Flyers to the final. He got the Canucks to the final. He won a gold medal with Canada. But, the gold medal of the team with Canada was a really talented team, but those other teams that he got to the finals, he never had really talented teams, but he got the most out of them. And I think that's a pretty good measure, too. I think if he had some really talented teams, he would have won cups.
George, our condolences passing along to you on the passing of Pat Quinn.
Thanks very much for having me.